All right, breaking news. Breaking news. National Guard takeover is in full effect. Washington, D.C. Looking at some of the feeds this morning, and National Guard troops are definitely out in full force patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. Whoa. Come on in, folks. Come on in. Some of the videos and clips are starting to come out. It was rocking and rolling last night in Washington, D.C. It seems like some protesters were confronting National Guard troops. They are out. They're out in their heavy vehicles. And they are perched at different locations throughout Washington, D.C. This is one particular area. It looks like it's near the United States Capitol. I've been fascinated with this in a sense to see, what exactly is going to happen, how long they'll be here. I'm a little bit concerned about this weekend because the way I saw it last night, there was like cones set up across the street and there were people shouting at the National Guard and shouting at federal law enforcement that were positioned at different locations. What it appears is they strategically are placed in certain hot spots around the Washington, D.C. area. This is going to be interesting to see, one, short-term and long-term when it comes to this situation. More federal law enforcement and National Guard are on the streets and are expected to arrive in Washington, D.C. today. Now, this was taken just a little bit ago. There are different feeds up all over the place. We're trying to just have a conversation here, talk about this topic a little bit, show you that, in fact, they are there, as you see. They are there. And, this doesn't happen very often. Let me just say that. Last time National Guard was in Washington, D.C. was January 6th. Prior to that, summer of 2020, with the demonstrations, riots that were happening all across the country in reference to the George Floyd situation. But they're out there. We titled this video National Guard Takeover. And, one thing I've noticed about what I've seen thus far is some people coming up to National Guard, shaking their hand and supporting them. Others taking selfies with the National Guard, coming up and seeing what's going on. Hello, how are you? And then I also see some like protesters and people kind of going up to them, yelling at them and asking them questions, berating them a little bit. Similar to what we saw in Los Angeles a few months back. Now, this is Washington, D.C. It's daytime. It is Thursday. We will see what happens tomorrow with this. Did you see the viral video of the guy that threw the sandwich at the federal law enforcement officer? Well, that guy's been arrested, and it's been announced he's facing felony charges. But this is pretty wild, seeing troops literally like in the nation's capital. Now, there's been a lot of talk in the last couple of days. I mean, there's some politicians that are saying, give Washington, D.C. back to Maryland. I guess Washington, D.C. used to be Maryland at one point. If you want services, if you want states' rights, give Washington, D.C. back to Maryland and just leave certain areas in Washington, D.C., like the federal government, as itself. But the rest of D.C., give it back to Maryland. There's a lot of talk of that, and I don't know if that will actually pan out. But as you clearly see, this is proof right here that National Guard is in Washington, D.C. And the talk is, the reports that are coming out are saying that they plan to do roving patrols throughout the nation's capital. Roving patrols. Now, things like this maybe like a protester here standing in front of them holding some sort of signage. And not only that, but apparently by law, I guess they can only be here up to 30 days unless Congress passes legislation. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm here. Look, some people confront them or ask them questions. What are you doing here? Why are you here? Look, why are you here? Why are you out here? So I've been seeing some flyers and I've been seeing protests scheduled for this weekend in Washington, D.C. So I expect it to be a little rocking and rolling, and this will be like the test. Similar to the first couple of days once National Guard arrived in Los Angeles with that situation a couple months ago. First couple days into that weekend was pretty rocking and rolling, right? And then it all quelled down. So I think if they're going to be anything, if at all, there might not be anything, but there was a couple like I'll say like DSA, Antifa type of flyers that are being distributed, you know, and saying, you know, stop this, defend our rights, things like that. I'll have to find the flyers, but they're posted online, implying that there is going to, well, they say there's going to be, I think they're going to meet at Lafayette Park Friday night, certain areas around DC. So the reports that are coming out, federal patrols ramp up in D.C. as Trump aims to extend police takeover. And they use the word takeover. This is a National Guard takeover. President Trump says he wants to extend the police takeover in D.C. past 30 days, which requires Congress to pass legislation. Goes on to say a crowd of more than 100 people gathered Wednesday at a checkpoint federal agents set up in D.C.'s Shaw neighborhood. More agents are patrolling the city as part of Trump's administration's takeover of the D.C. police. The protesters shouted, "Go home, fascists," and other insults at the officers conducting the checkpoint. Elsewhere, this was on Wednesday, yesterday. They're out there more today than they were yesterday, it appears. Agents from the Homeland Security Investigations patrolled the popular U Street corridor. DEA agents were seen at the National Mall while National Guards members were parked nearby. DEA agents joined Metropolitan Police Department officers on patrol in the Navy Yard neighborhood. Now, the Navy Yard neighborhood supposedly has some sort of 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew for juveniles. It appears outside the Navy Yard, there is a citywide curfew for youth. I think it's 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. I think it's 11. The White House said the number of National Guard troops in the nation's capital would ramp up and federal officers would be on the streets around the clock. The increased presence of federal agents came as Donald Trump called for the D.C. Council to change criminal justice laws, some in place for more than 30 years, and said he wanted to extend the police takeover. So, yeah, there is definitely things going on in D.C., and it will be interesting. Oh, it might be, and they might be getting rid of a homeless camp right now. There's another feed up. Hold on. I'm going to get something possibly up here. Yeah, I think they're getting rid of the homeless camp. Hold on. Stand by. It looks like they're dismantling a homeless camp right now. Look at this. They're dismantling a homeless camp, it looks like. Right now, this is live. They are dismantling a homeless camp, it appears. Holy smokes. Holy smokes, folks. They are actually, yeah. They're actually in there dismantling a homeless camp. There's lots of them all over D.C. Seriously. Whoa. What in the heck's going on here? Yeah, they're cleaning it all up. I saw this on another feed. There's a lot of things going on all over D.C. We're just monitoring all the different screens. Yeah, they're getting rid of the homeless camp. Look at that. They're dismantling it. Now, some people say this is wrong, you know, when it comes to the homeless. I think most people agree that crime should stop in D.C. But sometimes the line might be at the homeless issue because homeless, you know, some people say homeless people shouldn't be harassed. They should be, you know, helped. What does this do? They're dismantling a homeless camp this morning. So this is the Trump administration's plans here to get rid of these homeless camps. And he said they'll get them help, but they're going to be out of D.C. Now, I was wondering how they were going to handle this, but it appears like this is how they're handling this. Look at this.
Not Union Station, no. That's the other side of town.
This is going on right now. Holy smokes. We came on right at the right time to see exactly what in the heck is going on in Washington, D.C. Now, I don't see any I don't know if they gave the homeless people like options to get out of there or provided them with housing or took them out. It looks like it's abandoned. We'll sit here and monitor this for a bit. We're looking at this National Guard takeover that has been taking place for now about 2 days now in D.C. They started coming in Tuesday morning at the Armory as we watched it live. They started arriving for duty, and then yesterday they started taking the streets last night. There's videos out last night of them going around, and I don't see the National Guard arresting people. I see the federal authorities detaining people and pulling people over, but it looks like they're really cracking down. It appears they're really cracking down. We are in D.C. I don't know this location, but it looks like they are dismantling a homeless camp. It appears. I mean, if you see it otherwise. So there's a lot of things going on. Trump wants to extend the police takeover. The directive to federalize D.C. police lasts for a maximum of 30 days, unless Congress passes legislation to extend it. Trump told reporters at the Kennedy Center on Wednesday that he plans to submit a bill that will include a request to extend his police takeover. We're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in, and it's going to pertain initially to D.C. We're going to be asking for extensions on that, long-term extension, because you can't have 30 days. Passage of such bill would be highly unlikely since it would need Democratic support in the Senate. Yep, they're getting rid of it. They're getting rid of the homeless camp. Look at this. Looks like it's being destroyed. Now, throughout D.C. in certain like nooks and crannies, some of the parks, some of the wooded area, there are a lot of these homeless camps tucked in there. We're watching the dismantling of a homeless camp right now. This is what the Trump administration said they were going to do. Now, I don't know if this is federal authorities, contractors, National Guard, who, but you see they got dumpsters there. Holy smokes. Share this video out. Literally, they mean business. It appears they mean business. Or is this just optics? It appears they mean business in D.C. They're dismantling the homeless camps. That's a topic this morning also, too. Said they're going to clean up Washington, D.C. They're dismantling the camps in real time. What's your thoughts on this? Good or bad? Homeless camps being dismantled. National Guard police takeover. We'll continue to look and monitor what in the heck is happening in Washington, D.C. today. Another day. Homeless camp dismantled. Unbelievable. This is crazy, folks. Now, some people say this is years and years and years of buildup, and this is long overdue. Holy smokes. See the graffiti? For people that are coming into the chat, welcome aboard. We're monitoring what is transpiring in Washington, D.C. So far, we've seen more of a federal presence, law enforcement presence all over the streets. We have National Guard perched at different locations throughout D.C. This has been going on for about 2 days now, and now they're getting rid of the homeless camps. There's videos out there that we could share it a bit of people being arrested and, detained by federal authorities just in the last 24 hours. So things are definitely happening. Things are definitely happening. So I guess get rid of the camps here and then have guards there and federal authorities make sure no one comes back to set up new camps. Where's everyone going to go? What's the cost of this? What is the cost of this? National Guard takeover. Stacy, thank you for the comment. A lot of our veterans are homeless there in DC. My heart breaks. Where are they all going to go since the VA doesn't do anything to help them? Thank you, Stacy. Thank you. A lot of people feel like the VA doesn't help the veterans out there. We just covered a crazy mass shooting in Montana. And, you know, the guy there that did it, Michael Brown, was a veteran, and his family was complaining the VA was turning him away. Now, it's very sad, and he has to be held accountable for killing 4 people. But wonder if the VA would have helped him, like his family was pleading, if that mass shooting could have been prevented. William Kaufman, nice to see you this morning. Thank you. In DC, there are a lot of homeless veterans and just homeless in general. People struggle with mental illness. You know, I just don't get it how, you know, I mean, the resources are out there. I just don't know why they're not being used enough. Or do the people just reject the resources? Like, I guess you can't force someone to do something they don't want to do, right? If you're offering help, but they don't want the help, if somebody doesn't want the help, you can't force them, right? So it's our own body, our choice, right? I mean, the only legal way to, you know, get people, I guess, help, 5150 kind of Baker Act things, but that's just a temporary thing. And that's when somebody's like an imminent danger to themselves and others. But people are struggling with mental illness. What do you do? How do you help people? How do you help? Go Girl said JLR, most reject the resources. I mean, I feel like the resources there, but the VA, and we're talking about the veterans, I personally been hearing a lot of stories that the VA turns people away or gives people the bare minimum. When people actually, veterans that actually served, are asking and pleading for help. I've heard lots of stories. Now the VA will have to speak on that. But there's a lot of homeless that are not veterans. There's a lot of just homeless people that been institutionalized most of their life, in and out, substance abuse issues, victims of domestic violence, mental illness. You know, it's sad. It's sad, you know, and I don't think anyone wants to see homeless people put in handcuffs and taken to jail because they have nowhere to go and they're just living where they feel bad. I don't think anyone wants to see that. But what is the solution here? Because at the same time, you have a lot of these parks and areas where there's children, tourists, families, and the parks are intended for family gatherings and places where you can, you know, enjoy the area. And what do you do? Like, what do you do about it? Because at the same time, you have empathy for the homeless. At the same time, though, it's not, they're utilizing a place that they shouldn't utilize for that situation. They're ramping up, folks. They're getting rid of a homeless camp this morning. Yeah, the AP's reporting. I'm trying to find the actual location, but they're saying scenes from a homeless camp as the National Guard presence ramps up. Watch live from a homeless camp in Washington as the White House increases the National Guard presence and deploys federal officers around the clock. Plus, don't forget, homeless shelters, don't they have strict rules too when you go to these homeless shelters? Sometimes homeless shelters are only designed for women and children and not men. Separate the families, curfews, different things like that. If you use drugs in a homeless shelter, you get kicked out. So people just be like, it's not worth it. I don't want to go in there and be subjected to a rule. It's almost like a halfway house. And isn't all like homeless shelters are supposed to be designed for short-term solution, like a short-term help to springboard someone to a better situation, better environment? I mean, let me see the numbers of how many people are homeless in Washington, D.C. They're saying there's about 6,000 homeless people in Washington, D.C. in January 2025. 1,000 unsheltered, meaning they're sleeping on the streets. The city itself has about 3,200 emergency shelter beds, an additional 1,000 beds in transitional housing shelter. Now, advocates, there's a report out that are saying advocates fear Trump's crackdown in D.C. will put many homeless people behind bars. So advocates feel that the hundreds of National Guard troops that have been deployed to D.C. will start arresting homeless people if they refuse to leave, which will force them either to be in jail or fines and court costs. They're reporting that homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services. If they refuse, they will be subject to fines or jail time. That's what the White House press secretary Carolyn Leavitt said. According to Leavitt, Metropolitan Police and federal law enforcement agencies in Washington will strictly enforce existing laws that force homeless people off the streets as part of the effort to make D.C. safe and beautiful. That involves removing mentally disturbed individuals and homeless encampments as well. Exactly what we're seeing here right now. One of the encampments here is being dismantled before our eyes. Live. We are live. I didn't know they were going to do this. Like, I didn't really know. You know, I was conflicted when I heard Trump on Monday. I was just like, well, are they just posturing? Are they just talking to make it sound like they're going to do something? But it appears they're doing something about Washington, D.C. It appears now it's not just talk. They're walking the walk. It appears. Just than what have I seen the last 24 hours. And the reports are coming out that it's going to ramp up even more. Now, where did all this stuff come from, by the way? We're watching in real time a homeless camp be dismantled in Washington. National Guard takeover. They call it an emergency. Mayor Bowser and the city council are saying this is not an emergency. They're saying violent crime is down. This is not needed. However, Bowser and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Chief say they have to follow the law. I don't think they support this. However, they have to go with it because they have no choice. But it's happening right now, folks. Do you criminalize homelessness? The Get Tough policy towards people living without permanent housing is part of Trump's wider plan to end what he described as a rampant crime and disorder throughout Washington, D.C. In fact, violent crime reached a 30-year low in the city last year. The Trump administration saying that crime statistic is false. There's people out there saying that whistleblowers are saying that DC City Council was purposely messing with the numbers of the crime statistics to make it look like it's less than it really is. The Trump administration is disputing those figures and numbers. And they're saying that Washington is filled with drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And it says they have contributed to a sharp decline in the city's quality of life in Washington, D.C. So the National Homelessness Law Center, Jesse Rabbitwitz, said there are very few beds available in D.C. right now. And if they're where they are is often where people don't want to be. And here we are. So far, we've seen National Guard in the streets. We're seeing a homeless camp getting dismantled. What else are we going to see today? This is some wild stuff. It's actually happening in real time. Now, we're going to be following this for days, particularly in this weekend. It's great to see the media out there actually reporting on what's going on, so then we can dissect it and see. Janine, thank you. Welcome back. Good morning. For people in the chat, this is a National Guard takeover. I would say this is a controversial topic. I think there's going to be some resistance to this. The U.S. Army tweeted out, DC National Guard reporting for duty. The U.S. Army has activated the DC National Guard as directed by the president under Title 32 to assist federal and law enforcement within the U.S. Capitol. Title 32. Wow, he got rid of this camp pretty quickly. It's just... Now, last night, there's all types of videos going out. ICE, DHS, and the National Guard and MPD are in unmarked cars without badges, pulling people out of their cars and taking them away on 14th and W. So there's activists out there kind of doing the same thing with the ICE watch. They're doing the same thing in D.C. now and pointing out where all the agents are. One post last night where there were some federal agents posted up got so bad with protesters confronting the agents that the agents abandoned their post. And the crowd was cheering and everything like that. So I expect to see more of that in the next couple days. I mean, the Humvees and everything up, the military equipment, the equipment that they use. I saw agents. I tweeted out a clip this morning at JLR Investigates. They were, National Guard were holding zip ties. They're walking around the streets holding zip ties. I don't know if they plan on making mass arrests or what. Welcome aboard, JLR Investigates. real-time homeless camp. We'll continue to see what happens here for the next couple of days at least, or I mean, maybe the next 30 days. Homeless camp dismantled. I'm reading the comments here. Keep your comments coming. Let us know what you think. Remember, folks, we respect everyone's opinion here. Just don't do personal insults on one another. You're cool. Don't attack other members for other opinions, but share your opinion about this matter. We love to see and read it. Is martial law coming soon? Great question. Will they start doing this in other cities? You know, that was presented to Trump by a question. Trump was speaking the other day at a press conference. Someone presented that, and he was like, he didn't say yes or no, but he was like, these other leaders in these other cities should be watching what's going on and figuring out how to fix their cities. But it wouldn't shock me that, you know, if this starts happening in cities all across America, where maybe National Guard, federal authorities go in there and clean up the streets. I don't know. You think that's even possible? Is there enough troops that can do that? I guess the states can, you know, they could federalize the National Guard each state. How does that work, right? The feds, can't they get their own state's National Guards to do the work? You know, some people say LA, some people say Chicago, some people say New York. People say Portland, some people say Seattle, some people say Denver, in certain areas. I mean, I'll give you my honest opinion. I could see, you know, if this plan works here within the next 30 days, and they actually, you know, get rid of criminals and you know, clean up Washington D.C., however you define clean up, this could be a model and a blueprint and set precedent for other cities to follow. It really could. Philly too. Don't forget Philadelphia. Now, what is this? See? So this could be people part of this homeless camp that got kicked out or moved away. He has a bunch of luggage. See, but where does he go? Where does he go? They say, oh, we're going to get rid of your camp. Where does he go, though? Does he just walk and set up another camp? Where does the person go? If that's part of someone that's part of this homeless camp, but where does somebody go? Do they get picked up? Do they get a ride? Looks like he might be getting a ride. Kind of seeing here what is going on. You know, if I was there, I'd be walking around, narrating and moving around and moving all over the place. This is good. This is good. Is he going to the suburbs? Shelters? How many shelters? Do they plan to open up more shelters? And then cost-wise, what does this cost? Who pays for it? All of us. We pay our federal income taxes. This is part of the money goes. Jennifer said it's a junkie camp, not a homeless camp. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions about these camps, you know. Keep coming with your thoughts, folks. And I appreciate everyone's perspective on the situation. Twitter's down. Is it down? We'll see. Twitter's down. No? Yeah. Yeah, Twitter's acting a little funny right now. Acts slow. No, I don't think Twitter's down. I had to monitor that. It's been going down for the last couple months, off and on. Here we are in DC. I'm gonna try to get a perspective where this is. This is absolutely crazy, though. For real, it's like, yo, this is wild stuff. We call this National Guard takeover. And I expect to see more of this. Looking at the other feeds and seeing if anything's going on. They say a lot of the agents are walking around also wearing masks. Now, proponents say they're wearing masks. They don't want to get doxxed. They don't want to get harassed. They don't want their identity because they don't want their families being targeted. They don't want their address put out there. And other people are saying they're trying to hide something. And law enforcement shouldn't be on the streets hiding their faces. Everything should be public, open, and transparent. And you should know who the officers are. What's that? What was that up in the sky? What, I just see planes? I just saw a bunch of planes up in the sky. Something. All right, yeah, they're getting rid of the camps and the tents. Get a more understand of what the situation here is. Yeah, Twitter's acting funny this morning. They got books and everything. Somebody must have been there long term. I mean, think about this, folks.
No, I mean, no. Over here.
Look at all the reporters out there.
That one's campsite. Yeah, that one campsite is huge. I believe it.
You know where I think this is?
Take like all day just to clear it. Oh yeah, probably. This one's not as big as that one, and that one is huge. Yeah. I saw you loaded some of your stuff into a car. Are they taking you somewhere? Cool.
I think this is down by Georgetown Waterfront Park, possibly. I mean, it looks like it's along the river there. Does anyone have an actual location? We got police out there. All right, so it's good to see the officer smiling and interacting in a positive manner instead of being, defiant and like an authority. And sometimes these officers are really, the officers get it too, So yeah, I'm sure the officers have compassion and have to tread lightly here, or their heart is just like, hey, here's what you need to do, but unfortunately you can't be here. I mean, she was smiling, having an interaction with this gentleman. Without options for these people, it's just moving the issue to a new location. But this is necessary evil at this point. Prayers for our country. Janine, thank you. And nice to see you here every day watching what's going on around the country. Appreciate you. Thank you. I mean, it's kind of like passing the buck on to someone else. I kind of take it in a perspective as, when a hurricane comes and then your area doesn't get hit and you're like, oh my God, thank God. But unfortunately, someone else gets hit. Well, in here, you close up shop and everything like that, but these people probably go to another place and probably another community somewhere. It just passes the buck to a new location. Will they tackle the root problem? Tackle it. How do you tackle? How can you tackle it at this point? Is it fixable? Is this fixable? Thank you. This appears to be down towards the water. I don't know the location, but if you all know the location, well, so they came through this camp today and actually cleaning it up and telling people they got to move. Now it looks like everyone's doing it, civilly. Civil said they might not like it, but it looks like people are saying it's near the Supreme Court. So the homeless camps are getting dismantled. I mean, this is a sensitive topic. It really is. It is. I get it on all sides. I get it. I do get it. But think about this. You have the nation's capital. You have a place where government functions. You have foreign leaders come, dignitaries, tourists, children. It's history. Do you think people should be seeing just in the open fields there and all the available parks and spaces, tents, shopping carts, homeless boards set up, people sitting on benches? And do you think people in mass, like lots, do you think people should be subjected to that when these areas and these spaces are for you to, play with your kids, walk your dog, see the beauty, the trees? DC is absolutely gorgeous in the springtime with the cherry blossoms, the greenery. I mean, you can clearly see a lot. I mean, do you want to see that? Do you want to see that? You feel bad, but do you want to see it? I mean, people might say, why hasn't DC done anything? Why does it get to the point where the federal government has to come in and put a stop to this? Why did the DC, city council or the DC government there in DC? You know what I mean?
Get a little break. I won't. You see, you got the boots today at least. Yeah, well, that's the problem. They're uncomfortable. Oh no. So I'm gonna have to take a cab back to the car. I feel like walk up that dog. Man. There's like 3 blocks on my campus. Oh goodness. Yeah, now that I'm pushing down, it doesn't really make a difference. So I'm just gonna wait for the garbage truck to grab that tank. That happening and call the day after here. Yeah. So there's some 6:30.
All right. So
yeah, that's what I'm hearing. There's a couple more that are lodged in the trees over here, beside that one that they're kind of using the skid steer to take out. But that's pretty simple.
We're listening in, see what's going on here.
Too. One thing. Do you want some tea? It's here you can. It's a little hot still.
That's exactly what I got. Some tea.
Nope.
Dropped your camera.
Yeah, no, it's.
So they're really doing some action today. Day 2 into this. It's officially day 2 into this takeover here. Deanne Hobbs says, why should the homeless and crime be able to control how a city functions? Thank you for Deanne Hobbs. Thank you for that comment. Great question. How should the homeless and crime be able to control how a city functions? I see a lot of media out there too. You see all the cameras? Murky. Hello, Murky. Good morning, Murky. Many states with homeless issues have offered incentives to cities to build homeless housing for single families, even incentives to homeless to use. Thank you for that comment. So what happened here with DC? When you have 5,000-6,000 people just all over the streets of DC in the places that you roll into DC and you see these beautiful buildings. They're beautiful. The architectural structure of DC is bar none. It is absolutely gorgeous in Washington, D.C. It's gorgeous. Some of these buildings, I mean, we're talking buildings have been around hundreds of years, right? And around it, you have a lot of trees, beautiful trees, the fields, the parks. But over the course of time, and it's been going on, significantly getting more and more worse. We'll call it worse with just people just living out there in the grass, under trees, these tents, these like wooded box homes that people set up, and the police just leave it there, and they just allow it, and it just accumulates and accumulates and accumulates. Then you get calls, and the law enforcement gets calls of like arguments and fights, drug-related stuff. Crystal says, thank you for the comment, Crystal. I'm a Trump supporter, but this homeless thing hits home to me as my brother was homeless by his choice. He passed in January with colon cancer. I'm sorry, Crystal. I begged him to live with me, but I know the crime has to stop. Thank you. So, Crystal, thank you. And I'm sorry this happened to your family. So you experienced someone in your family that had this issue, and you actually tried your best. Now, look, this is kind of like in these areas. Look what you're seeing here. A lot of the roads and the overpasses and the off-ramps to some of the exits, to some of the highways, in those like corners there's a lot of these trees and little areas. It's where people congregate. People set up shop. This appears to be some loop that's going off a road. Magnolia pinned a comment. You can have all the homeless services in the world, and they still won't use them if they're not allowed to do drugs and have to follow the rules. What part of this is not clicking for some people? Pay the homeless to clean up the trash. Penelope says, pay the homeless. Pay them. Give them a job to clean up the trash. We're going to be watching this for days. So if you want to know firsthand of what's going on in D.C., we are definitely monitoring situations. This is the channel to be. I want to see where this goes, and I want to see the before, and I want to see the after. But I do think in the next couple of days, though, it's particularly Friday night. I think Friday, tomorrow night, Saturday night, could be rocking and rolling in D.C. with some protesters, resistance, possibly clashes. I don't think it will be on LA's level. All right, we take you to a new location, clearly showing National Guard in Washington, D.C. at different parts, museums, monuments, strategic corners. Washington, D.C. Now, some people like this. Some people might not. Some people might be with it. Some might not be. So just to show you again, there's National Guard in the streets of Washington, D.C. Day 2 officially. They started taking the streets yesterday. They came in 2 days ago, reported for duty. Dark Match says Ghislaine Maxwell lives in luxury while the homeless are destroyed. Thank you for that comment. I'm sorry about your brother, Crystal, again with the comment. My brother was stabbed and robbed twice, and he still chose this lifestyle before going to hospice. This was in Nashville. Oh, Nashville. Yeah, Nashville. You know, down by the waterfront when we were covering Riley Strain, it was pretty bad down there with the homeless issues. John H. There should be mobile drug clinics and mental health clinics and build more housing. Mobile drug clinics and mental health clinics. Mobile. Thank you for the comment, John. So you see the National Guard here. All right, so we take you back to the homeless camp that's still going on, that they are dismantling. We're going to kind of just check the different feeds of what's going on. Here's just one of possibly many. So that camp was tucked in all into the woods there. For people who are coming in, welcome to the chat. JLR Investigates. We're having a conversation about the issue that's going on right now in D.C. All eyes on Washington, D.C. about the National Guard takeover, the federal government, the federalization of the police, the homeless issue, crime in general. Super Cracker says a lot of them don't want responsibility either. Thank you for the comment. You know, all of us, there is a personal responsibility on all our parts when things, with stuff, right? Personal responsibility. Can you really force something on someone that doesn't want it? Do it by force? It is a controversial issue. It's similar to the 2020 lockdowns and the mandates, you know? People for it, people against it. People are like, hey, I want a personal choice. People are like, hey, you want to do this, you want to do that, you do it. That's your personal choice. I have a personal choice. Everyone has a personal choice of how they want to handle a situation. Well, if there's someone that's homeless that doesn't want the help, doesn't want resources, doesn't want to get clean, what do you do?
And then there's still
what do you do? Somebody also said Union Station. Union Station.
So it's like
I've seen things outside Union Station and also inside Union Station. My time in DC. I haven't really seen like camps at Union Station, but I've seen a lot of people.
Of course, would be across the river. So it's like in the off ramps and on ramps coming in DC from the Virginia side or leaving DC to Virginia.
All right, so this is the on-off ramp on the DC side where
the Institute of Peace, Kennedy Center, the Lincoln Memorial, like anywhere you can find parking around there. And you got
okay, so you know where this is? This is by Georgetown Waterfront Park.
Yeah, Constitution before the bridge to so like the very end, basically, of Constitution near Virginia. So it's like in a bit of grassy BC Park area, right? So it's not national park, but the city bottom right. Yeah, and that's the last time we park in. Hopefully you can hit a spot fairly close. Cheers. Bye.
He says this is by Constitution, by the Lincoln Memorial. This is like the park at the Lincoln Memorial down in that area. So it's a little bit south of Georgetown Waterfront Park. Seems like it's right along the water there, right off an exit ramp. He said Constitution Avenue. So my take here, this is somewhere along right by E Street, Rock Creek, Potomac Parkway. I think there's like in that general area. He said you go right into Constitution, right by the bridge that takes you over to Virginia. So it appears to be down by the Lincoln Memorial, West Potomac Park, along the water. This is this location. One of many. Also continue to monitor what's going on in DC. We had a really rock and rolling day yesterday. There's crazy stuff going all over. Seems pretty quiet this morning when it comes to like crime aspect around the country. I don't see any major events going on. Thank God. So now we take you to Washington, D.C., but we will, this is a conversation that we will be speaking about all week for the short term, maybe possibly long term. We'll have to see where this all goes. Look at all that. Look at all that was in there. Look at the mattress. That's like a double king size mattress. That's bigger than a king size mat. That's not a king size mattress. That looks like a gigantic mattress. What is that? What type of mattress is that there? It looks like it's a double king. California king. How big is that mattress? That looks like something like the California king mattress. Holy smoke. Look how big that mattress is. Somebody had a California king mattress in the trees there. A California king mattress measures 72 inches wide and 84 inches long. Yo, they had all types of stuff in there. Look. Holy smokes. Look what's all in the trees. Pammy says, why does it take a presidential order to clean this up? What is wrong with these cities? And thank you for the comment. We asked earlier, like, how did it get to this point? And what happens if the federal government wouldn't have intervened here? But how did it get to this point? This just doesn't happen overnight. This doesn't happen this is not just someone this has to be a decade of accumulation of things. A decade. Literally plus. Christy, thank you. This has to be years and years and years and years of accumulation. I mean, think about the environment. You think this could be an environmental disaster here? JLR, I sent an email. We'll check it out. Thank you, Crystal. Homeless camp being dismantled in Washington, D.C. before our eyes, right off of Constitution Avenue, right by the river, before you get into Virginia, in Washington, D.C. JLR, discount mattresses. They're probably donated. How do you even get the mattress there? It's not like somebody can carry it there. You can't carry it there like that. How does and how many people are on that mattress and what's going on in those woods? How is this even possible, what we're seeing here? Like, how did this even accumulate? Who's been in those woods? Welcome, Christy. Thank you for being here. Nikki, nice to see you for being a member 8 months. Thank you. Dark Match, see you again. Years of red states shipping their homeless to cities on buses. Thank you for the comment. Dark Match said years of red states shipping their homeless to cities on buses. See, but one thing is too, though, a lot of these camps are, I know the leaders and the police know these things exist, but in a sense, they're tucked into the woods too. Now, I can tell you firsthand here in Florida, in like Pinellas and Pasco County, you have US Highway 19. Believe it or not, you wouldn't know, but if you go into the woods right on the side of US Highway 19 to the right or left, and you just go in there a little bit, there are homeless camps you won't believe that are in there. Like literally set up with wood and tree forts and all types of things, barrels, and you wouldn't even know that these things exist because they're tucked in there. You wouldn't even know. We're continuing to monitoring what's going on in DC. The first of probably many homeless camps being dismantled, cleaned up. Now, where do they take all this? The dumpster? Do they landfill? They got a landfill, particular landfill. You know, look at this. This is crazy. Holy smokes. Dragon Studios. Thank you for the comment. Think of all the jobs this could have created to clean the city up. Think of all the jobs across the nation it could have created. Thank you. I mean, that's what people have been saying, Dragon. And I appreciate that. Thank you. That's what people said. The jobs created to clean this up. There you go. You want some jobs? Clean this up. There's your job. There's a job. Jobs across the nation could be created if you clean up the mess. But what was the plan here in DC? Just to keep this here? Just keep it and just let it keep accumulating? But the same people saying about, we'll say, climate change and, the environment, the same people are preaching about preserving and, the environment and climate change, but yet allows this in their communities. I don't get it. Unless they just don't know it exists, but I can't see how they would not know. If you're running a city, you know what's going on in your city. You know. I mean, look at all the TVs and the junk and just all that stuff. I mean, I'm surprised the trees were growing.
Oh, right over here.
I think so. Yeah. Back behind here over the tree. We're thinking, but definitely around noon.
Cool.
She's gonna get her. So she's just want to make sure
Appreciate that.
So that you can set up.
Yeah, I'll definitely set that up, man. Appreciate the heads up.
Things are accumulating. We're going to monitor and see where the National Guard goes next, if there's any activity today. It's wild. Maybe put a pause in the situation. People say up by DuPont Circle, there's a lot of homeless camps up by, they say Lafayette Park, DuPont Circle, over by the Supreme Court. Saying the Navy Yard, it's pretty bad by the Navy Yard. The Navy Yard area. National Mall, throughout the National Mall, they got a lot of little places, like a little tucked in the trees there in the National Mall, all along between the Lincoln Memorial and the United States Capitol, all along that National Mall. Logan Circle was another hot spot, they said. Logan Circle. Mount Vernon Square. Homeless camps in Mount Vernon Square. John H. says, at least this will keep children safe from picking up needles from the park. Think about the needles, folks. Think about all the needles around there. Deanne Hobbs. If we can put illegals up in fancy hotels, we can give our homelessness a place to get help. One way or another, this had to be done. Thank you for the comment.
Still no like firm location on where the deputy mayor is going to speak.
I think you might actually be right under the shade patch.
Yeah. Oh, no worries.
I originally
Oh, we
said
got a
over
press
there, but I don't
conference
know
coming
if
up? Did he say the deputy
Where
mayor?
we are with that,
Yeah.
better, so.
Did he say the deputy mayor? Someone's going to speak?
Nathan Algren with the AP.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I'm with the deputy mayor's office. So
Great.
you should be.
Oh, it looks like the deputy mayor might be speaking there.
Pretty informal.
Yeah.
Ah, we got a press conference or some sort of something. This will be interesting.
Microphone going. And maybe I can coordinate with some of my colleagues here so we can circle up.
Yeah.
And
The deputy mayor is planning to speak here.
so, you think this further bit of shade would be best?
Yeah, unless you have another.
I think that would be better, yeah, because you can still hear it from over
Yeah.
here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I went Fox 5. I was just trying to figure out where the bag was coming from.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do it under this.
Press conference coming,
Yeah.
If
folks.
we want to start.
Yeah,
Setting
setting
up,
up, yeah.
we
So that
can
way when he
definitely
gets
do that.
here, we can be respectful of his time and get it going.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, there's always those type of jokes, you know, I haven't heard that.
Deputy mayor plans to be there for some sort of speaking. We'll hear what the city officials have to say about the situation. This will be interesting.
Just a heads up, I think the deputy mayor of HHS is going to gaggle over here. So we're going to probably use, this is probably the largest bit of shade here to do it. So
Yeah, shade. I don't know what the temperature is there today. Let's see.
Again,
Washington.
if you all have like a semicircle maybe around here to work with. Yeah. Have a little
86
bit of
there.
the belongings in the background.
Chance of showers today. All right, so let's hear what the deputy mayor has to say about their thoughts on this. Yeah, it's pretty hot. It's hot and humid in Florida too. My goodness, it was soupy last night. Me and Magnolia went for a walk last night. It was brutal. Deputy mayor will be speaking here at this location, probably going to call out the federal government. I'm assuming that the deputy mayor is going to be calling out or saying this is who knows what the deputy mayor will say? Maybe the deputy mayor supports this. We shall see. As we continue the conversation of the National Guard takeover, federal government takeover of Washington, D.C., this morning they dismantled this homeless camp right off of Constitution Avenue.
Pretty mobile, so. Sounds good.
Yeah, this is definitely be interesting here. In the meantime, I'm looking around to see if any action's going on in D.C. Pretty up to speed on what's happening. I'd like to hear what the deputy mayor has to say, for real. People coming into the chat, welcome aboard. We are covering everything that's going on in D.C. We'll be here each and every day for the least the short term. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that sub button. Appreciate it. Your support helps the JLR Army grow. We continue to grow in real time, showing you what's going on in real time. Major events around the country, around the world. We continue to analyze and allow all of you to share your opinions about the situation. All are welcome on this channel. All perspectives are welcomed on this channel. All opinions. I have my opinion on a lot. Some of my opinion you might not agree with. I'm okay. Everyone can express their opinion here freely about the situation. This is kind of like a depot to share your opinion in real time. We talk and analyze, share comments, have a conversation about very important topics. This is a very important topic. One, you've got federal, National Guard inside a U.S. city, the nation's capital. Will this happen in other U.S. cities? The same model? Is this the start of something bigger? And two, you got homeless and crime issue that they're claiming is going on in D.C. I think most people can agree there is problems going on in D.C. with the crime and the homeless issue. And how do you address it? How do you appropriately address the issue, or do you not address it? Deputy mayor plans to come. Now, who got rid of that stuff? Like, was it like a contractor, the federal government contract? Maybe the city did it. Maybe the city's the one that did it. Are we thinking maybe the city's the one that ordered this to show, they say, hey, we got this under control. We can do it. We don't need the federal government. We'll handle the situation. Did the federal response here the last 24 hours compel and trigger DC to do something about it and say, look, we don't need this. We can handle this. We shall see.
Yeah, I told him in. So we're trying to get set up, ready to go. Yeah, that's what
Cool Roy says, Democrats' failure to achieve, my brother. Thank you for the comment. Some people say this is a Democrat issue. Some people say it's a Republican. Some people say this is an American issue. This needs to be addressed. There is finger pointing. There's finger pointing all over the place. People say it's a life issue. The struggle is real. You know, I think some of us have been in very bad places in life, situations, sometimes self-inflicted, sometimes you can't control it, sometimes a combination of both. But I can honestly say, you know, my own personal journey and experience, you know, I was on this level at one time. You know, I was in a situation like this about a decade ago. It was pretty bad. I had to start at the bottom. You know, and it was my own doing. And, you know, it takes commitment to work things out, dedication. You know, people do struggle, but people can also get out of the situation. The resources, the opportunities that are there, surround yourself with good people, faith in God, stay clean, make better choices, responsible living, and you can get out. You can get out. You can get out of any bad situation. You can clean yourself up. I was in bad shape. I was in very bad shape a decade ago. Very bad shape. I'm just speaking on personal experience. I was never homeless, but I was in bad shape. Look at that. Whose dog is that? Whose dog is that? You mean somebody left a dog behind? Are you kidding me? Somebody left a dog behind.
For him to stand here.
Whose dog is that? Dude, they got a dog there in a cage.
I think most of us are planning to.
I just noticed that. Have you guys been seeing this dog?
Might be a little further off. I mean, we can get him a little closer.
Whose dog is that?
None of us have extra close. That'd be a great.
Somebody adopt that dog quickly, man. I hope the dog don't go to like a kill shelter. Somebody get that dog and adopt that dog. Oh my God, it's a pit bull.
Yeah.
Oh man, somebody help that dog. Holy smokes. Whose dog? I hope it's that's the owner, maybe. You know, sometimes with the homeless, you will see people with dogs, multiple dogs. And that could be their, you know, emotional support. Looks like that could be the dog's owner. I wasn't sure at first. I'm seeing this cage and I'm like, what in the heck's going on here? Like, whoa. Golfer Girl. Golfer Girl says, thank you for the comment, Golfer Girl. My ex-boyfriend was homeless and a vet. And I bought him a camper. I bought him food, clothes, everything. And he was BSV to me in so many ways. Had drug and alcohol problems. Thank God he's out of my life. Sorry you went through that, Golfer Girl. Nice to see you again. Hopefully you are doing well. Now you can hear the equipment there. They're still in there getting rid of these camps. You can hear the equipment. Hear the maybe the deputy mayor will share some insight about what's happening here and what's the plan and what are some solutions. What's that say? Being homeless is not a crime. sex trafficking, release the Epstein files. Whoa. You saw that? Being homeless is not a crime. Sex trafficking is. Release the Epstein files. What's going on in the far distance? Matter of fact, speaking of Epstein files, I think Ghislaine Maxwell is about to speak to Congress. It might be tomorrow, 15th, somewhere around now. She was supposed to speak to Congress. Maybe she already spoke. People say trespassing is a crime, loitering is a crime. Look, it might be organizations here helping getting people out of there, helping and transporting people. Now, I hope the mayor doesn't come on, the vice mayor or the deputy mayor come on and say this wasn't a problem. I hope she doesn't say that, because clearly you can't have all that stuff there like that right off an internet. It's not safe. It's not sanitary. We will continue to see what's up. I'm going to get more tea. Stand by. I'll be right back. Looks like you got a lot of city workers there too. Oh, look at that. There's another location. Holy smokes. They're still up there getting rid of the... Look at all that. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy, man. They're still getting rid of... Look at all that. Holy moly. Who owns this property anyway? Federal government. Who's screaming? We're continuing to watch what's going on in D.C., ladies and gentlemen. This is a topic that we are going to stay with for the next couple days. As repeated here, we're going to see what happens over the weekend. It appears there's going to be some, look at that, press conference here shortly. They're on their way.
Great.
Deputy Mayor on their way. We'll see what happens and what they say.
Okay, so yeah, Wayne Turnage with the Office of Deputy Mayor of Health and Human Services is on his way here right now to give us an update on what's happening here. But starting at 10 o'clock, that's when crews really start clearing out this homeless encampment between Lincoln Memorial and the Kennedy Center. So stepping out here, you can see if you drive in here, yesterday you saw the tents over here. You can see now they have been cleared.
All right, so media is starting to build up there.
But this comes in the middle of the White House. President Donald Trump cracking down on homelessness and really threatening either jail time or even fines for those who do not house needed. But this is all planned under the Deputy Mayor of Health and Human Services. Not said as a sort of at all. Not involved in this decision-making process.
Union Station, when we were all, oh my goodness, look at that. When we were looking a little bit earlier, there was National Guard parked at Union Station. I'd like to hear what the deputy mayor has to say. National Guard takeover. Homeless camp destroyed. What's next? Patscape. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
There are about 1,100 beds in the city available for single adults. The city does have more resources to increase that capacity. As soon as we learn more information, of course, we'll have that on that and on some of those.
We're waiting to get an update about what exactly is happening here, like, so it can put into context. And temperature in DC is upper 80s. Here's the latest news report coming out by Fox News. Says Trump's federal crime operation brings 100 arrests. 100 arrests, 800 National Guard troops to Washington. It goes on to say FBI, ATF, and other agencies patrol the streets as DC Police Union questions the crime statistics. goes on to say, federal law enforcement agents were spotted patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. Wednesday night, last night, as President Trump's crime crackdown ramped up. It says personnel with the FBI, ATF, Border Patrol, Department of Homeland Security, and Secret Service were spotted largely in groups around the city in central downtown locations: Metro Center, 14th Street, Logan Circle, and Chinatown.
All of the different operations, the government saying that 29 people who were in this country without
Now we got another location here.
were arrested. We also had arrests for other reasons, including first and second.
I think they took us to another location here. Hopefully we'll get back to what the mayor has to say. Vice mayor, deputy mayor.
Someone for carrying a concealed weapon and assaulting a federal officer is another arrest as well. To be clear, the National Guard is not making these arrests. They're kind of on hand for purposes of, the spectacle. At this point, they are not authorized, as we understand it, to make those arrests. But it's pretty visible.
This is what's going on in D.C. right now. What's all that alarm? We are live in Washington, D.C. So going back, they're saying as of yesterday, 400 National Guardsmen have reported for duty, and a total will be 800 by next week. So there's about half there. There's hundreds out there already. They will patrol the city in rotations with about 200 at a time. In addition, holy smokes, look. In addition, 500 federal agents are part of the White House's task force to crack down crime.
At this point, it doesn't appear that there are. They seem to have gloves on them, but at the same time, not exactly clear if they have weapons. They don't appear to have weapons on them. We've reached out to DC Guard to get a better sense of what this presence is going to look like, if this is a more permanent position. But the White House recently taking moves to try and make this more of a 24/7 presence. Just the last couple of days, we had seen just one or two National Guardsmen walking around. Later,
hey, Jeff.
The first day that we saw this,
being homeless is not a crime, Jeff says. Thank you.
So now this is apparently more.
Patscape says, I am a Cold War, Gulf War veteran, PTSD, MST, broken neck, TBI, and more, and I have no sympathy for homeless veterans. Thank you, Pat. Being homeless is not a crime, Jeff says.
Doing so for any longer would require an act of Congress. A lot of questions there about whether that's.
All right, so I think we're at Union Square.
How you doing? Cool.
So actually, that's a good question for you. I have the option to maybe go to a homeless camp and watch that.
Union Station. Union Station. I hope they go back to that camp so we can listen in. I think they might switch it back. We'll see. Hopefully they'll walk around a little bit more. Last night they said a police checkpoint was stopping vehicles on 14th Street. Jeff says, I thought the goal was to arrest criminals. Thought the goal was to arrest criminals, not homeless people. I disagree with this new policy, Jeff says. Thank you for the comment, Jeff. Jeff said, I thought the goal was to arrest criminals, not homeless people. You can clearly see a heavy National Guard presence here at Union Station. Oh, they got the bus tours out there still. You ever see those bus tours? Double-decker buses you could get in and get tour the area. Juanita, XOXOXOXO, thank you for being here. POF CR 557. Homelessness is not a crime, but trespassing and littering is. Thank you for the comment. Oh, somebody screaming at National Guard or what? Somebody's screaming out there. We are live at Union Station now.
There's one on the wall.
Is there?
That you can frame with the Capitol down at 6th Street.
What are they filming?
Oh, it's just
Oh,
We got a clip. This is last night.
Some residents in D.C. are protesting the increased law enforcement patrolling the streets. The White House says the National Guard and other federal officers will be on duty around the clock. CBS News Department of Justice reporter Jake Rosen has been following the latest for us and joins us now. Jake, we're starting to see some unrest there. What can you tell us about the immediate impact on the city, the response so far? Have we seen crime going down in just the last couple of days?
Well, it's certainly too early to tell on that front, Vlad, because you need to look at really what the effect of this full 30-day, potentially more than that, federal takeover of the city and its law enforcement really does, and whether there are addressing the root causes of crime in this city, going to the neighborhoods that actually have a lot of the daily, whether it's violent crime or drug crime throughout the city. What you just saw there in that protest was up the street from us in a historically very popular neighborhood for people to go out late at night on a Thursday and Friday. Those checkpoints are routine, but they are routine for the Metropolitan Police Department here to be operating, not for federal law enforcement like ICE and the FBI to be conducting these kind of traffic stops, which the Trump administration touted this morning were mostly actually resulting in immigration arrests, which again fits with the president's agenda, but does not necessarily actually combat this real tackling of violent crime throughout the city. You can see there the FBI touted 45 arrests yesterday. There were 43 arrests the day before. But again, these are for a number of crimes throughout the city.
Yeah, and I was sort of being facetious when I mentioned whether crime was down in the last couple of days, because obviously, even over the course of the 30 days, which is what the president is able to do under the law before requesting an extension from Congress, most analysts predict that although the presence of increased law enforcement may tamp down crime, at least during this period, once you go away, the root causes of why that crime is happening do not. But the president, of course, as you know, Jake, is doubling down. He's reiterating that crime is much worse in D.C. than the numbers actually show. And as I said, to be able to go beyond those 30 days, he does have to request Congress to do that, give him that authority. Is that something that he is considering?
Yeah, and he said it so much yesterday in taking questions from reporters. He said he will call a full national emergency to try to extend the National Guard and federal takeover in D.C. without congressional approval if he doesn't get it. That would be obviously subject to massive legal challenges and massive ramifications for how the city governs itself. But Vlad, I think the important thing to note is that there is not quite the appetite in Congress just yet for this. We saw Democrats say that they're not open to negotiating on this, and Chuck Schumer, who obviously leads Senate Democrats, saying in an expletive, no way that he's going to allow the Trump administration to come to the table to negotiate any of this, or for a bill to be passed that would kind of roll back what the D.C. laws are in terms of what a federal takeover entails. It looks like for now, Vlad, it'll be this 30-day Band-Aid and potentially a keeping of the National Guard, which President Trump does have the ability to do, but certainly more to come on this front, as there's not necessarily a tinderbox yet, but they're certainly building tensions from locals here who are just simply not happy with federal law enforcement walking through the streets.
Let me just ask you, Jake, personally, and this is something I've seen from other journalists who live in Washington, D.C. You've no doubt seen that increased presence. Just anecdotally, how does it make you feel? How does it make your friends and neighbors feel?
Well, I think the thing to notice, actually, is that I don't live on one of those high-traffic, maybe tourist-centric streets where there's going out, and I have not seen that big federal law enforcement presence. In fact, I actually didn't see any law enforcement the last couple of days walking out early in the morning to get to work and go to the gym. It's really specific to some of these corridors, and I think, Vlad, when you think about it, yes, people want extra law enforcement. Everybody wants to feel safe walking around. I think if you take a step back, however, Vlad, you want it to be in the neighborhoods that actually need it the most, and those are the most vulnerable people in this city and in every city that need that hand. And right now, it looks like it's really just for these photo ops you see, the protests, and for National Guard to be stationed along the mall so that it looks like tourists will certainly have people watching their back. That's important too, but are you actually addressing the root causes of crime? Federal officials here in D.C. that said that they're not quite worried about that. They just want to get the crime under control for now.
Yeah, so I love that point that you made, Jake, because that is the clear and direct and obvious point, which is that it is true that crime is down in Washington, D.C. from its high in 2023, and then it's been decline in 24, decline in 2025. But it does have a very high homicide rate in certain areas, and disproportionately, black and brown people who live in some of these under-resourced neighborhoods are the ones that are most often the brunt or bear the brunt of those crimes. And so the performative nature of having law enforcement on the streets is perhaps, it makes perhaps some people feel good, but unless you address those root causes as to why the city, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, there are 4,000 cops in Washington, D.C., right? So even adding more police has not been able to tamp down the murder rate, which is higher than, Chicago even in some neighborhoods in Washington, D.C., because the root causes haven't been addressed.
Yeah, and I'll leave you with one point. There's actually about 3,300 because there's a gap of 800 to 700 officers that the administration here hasn't been able to fill. And the D.C. Congress, that bill, One Big Beautiful Bill, took away a lot of that funding that the city could have used to hire officers. Instead, obviously, we've seen this federal.
All right, we take you back to this area, and that was CBS News giving different perspective on the situation that is happening in DC with the federal takeover, law enforcement takeover, National Guard presence. Now we're back at this homeless camp. We're gonna kind of wait and see if this deputy mayor speaks there. There's 2 locations right now. It seems like there's activity going on in reference to what we can understand what's going on is here, and also Union Station. So we can kind of like go back and forth between the 2. But here we are, and we'll probably, I want to hear what they have to say, though. That's what I'm waiting for. Hopefully we'll get an update very, very soon on this topic. But a lot of people in the chat, sharing things. Like, I appreciate everyone's perspective on the situation. People are saying homelessness is not a crime, but then people are also saying if the homeless trespass and loiter, that is a crime. You get what I mean? Should homeless people be put in handcuffs if they refuse to move, if they're out there at a camp somewhere? Should they? What will it look like? How will the public take homeless people being arrested?
Could someone stand in where we're talking about? Yeah, the blue, yeah. A little far for the stick mics.
Jeff says if we can send billions to Ukraine,
yeah, I think so.
If we can send billions to Ukraine, then we can afford to build tent villas for the homeless.
Scoot closer to the edge. Get them in the. All right, everyone, scoot up.
All right, we're about to get a press conference. It appears. We'll listen in.
If you don't mind, that'd be great.
Thanks for your patience. We have Deputy Mayor Wayne Turnage here and DHS Director Rachel Pierre ready to answer your questions. Feel free to tell them to move closer, farther, come closer.
All right.
Hello. Close enough?
Yeah, yeah.
So, just obviously,
My name is Wayne Turnage, Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services and Director of the Department of Healthcare and Finance.
so can you kind of walk us through what's happening today?
Well, what's happening is as part of the duties of the Deputy Mayor's office, we manage encampments, and we manage them through either cleanups or closures. This is a closure for a number of reasons, and from what I can tell, it went very well.
Okay, so the district is the one removing the folks here.
Yes, we were informed by the National Park Service that they would begin closing all encampments in the city, both on federal and district land. We believe we have a tried and true process to do this the way it should be done. We engage social services. We try to connect to homeless services. We use our outreach workers extensively before we close, in the weeks, months before we close, to try to get people into services. So we felt that we knew this site would be one of the key sites that the federal government would close. So it was in our judgment that it was better for us to do it using the protocols that we rely upon in the deputy mayor's office.
Why was that such an important thing for you? Is it the fear that having federal folks clearing out this homeless encampment instead of the city would, cause some sort of issue?
Well, closing encampments is a very, very complex process. We're dealing with human beings who, in many cases, have been marginalized. Their lives are being disrupted. And so we have put a process in place that we think respects that we think makes sure that if there's any opportunity to get people to homeless services, that we can do it through the closure process, working with our team of very experienced outreach workers, DHS workers, and the staff in my office. It is not that the federal government would not do that, but they don't have the social services component on the ground that we do. Park Police is very good at closing sites. We've worked with them in the past, but the social services component, the human services component always falls to the district, and we embrace it. And so we felt if this site was going to be closed, because it was a sizable site, that we should do it ourselves.
And when was your office notified, or were you guys notified that this was going to be one of the locations for them to target?
Well, we were told on Friday, we learned that the president would probably make an announcement that he wanted encampment cleared. The announcement came on Monday, and then the National Park Services reached out to the city administrator and explained that they would start closing encampments on Monday night. We knew from this location and this size, given its visibility, that this site would probably be high on the priority for closure. So we decided we should do it ourselves.
And how soon once you found that out, did the outreach start Tuesday? When did that start?
Outreach is year round. Rachel can talk about the outreach strategies that we use, but our outreach workers know these residents by name. They always try to connect them to services, always try to help them address some of the needs they might have. So it's not a case where an announcement was made on Monday and we rushed outreach workers out here we've been working with this site for a long time.
Was it since Tuesday though? At what point did you let the people here know that today was going to be the day they had to leave?
We let them know yesterday. Normally we have typically we have a 7-day notice requirement, but we also have in our protocol, if you've seen it, we have the provisions for what we call an immediate disposition. If that involves a closure, that can come within 24 hours.
So that's why it was yesterday versus Tuesday, when the night after you found out.
Right. Once we found out that the National Park Service planned to start closing encampments, they said on Monday, we just said we would go out and let the folks know that we're going to close it instead, and we give them notifications and try to connect them to homeless services.
Is the federal government working with you closely, aka they'll let you know if they have something planned, and is the idea for you guys to take care of it first before they get on property?
We are working with the federal government closely. They are not expecting us to, after they indicate that they're going to close the site, to jump in front of them and close the site ourselves. We work with them. We had a big meeting at the U.S. Park Service headquarters last night. There's another one today at 5 p.m. And from that meeting, we will learn more about which sites they're going to close starting at 6 p.m. tonight.
Was that something you guys will release at some point?
Well, we don't control the list. The list, if we got it, we certainly will be happy to share it, but we don't have a list right now. All we have is a notice that some encampment closures could initiate this evening after 6 o'clock.
Tonight, even?
Tonight, yes.
How many more do you think?
Well, they have a very aggressive timeline. They want to be finished with the encampment part of this process in a week or so. I don't know if that's possible, but that's what their goal is.
And how concerned are you about this aggressive plan? Where are these people going when they tell us to move them out of the city?
I'm not concerned about the aggressive plan, but I don't think depending upon the scope of their efforts, if they only focus on federal sites, they probably could be closed and they could finish in a week. If they focus on district sites, When you combine district sites and federal sites, there's 62 of them involving almost 100 people. You're not going to do that in a week. And then if you get people who are living in the shadows during the day and sleeping not in tents, but on storefronts, on steam grates, in alleys, that number is considerably higher, and they come with some severe mental health challenges. That's a population that you're not going to be able to quickly manage into a treatment or whatever the goal would be. That's a population that is very challenging to deal with, and to do it respectfully and humanely, it will take some time.
So this is a federal site right here.
This is a federal and district site.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And the other ones being looked at this point, because you had mentioned possibly district down the road, but at this point, is it just federal that the administration is focused on?
No, we will turn our attention next to Washington Circle. That is a site that we generally prohibit encamping for reasons of public safety. You know, if you have tents on a sidewalk in a circle, car jumps a curb, people will die. So we normally have signs posted that said you cannot encamp here. Sometimes people still encamp there, and we give them notice, and we come and we close the site. We were scheduled to close that site on the 29th, and we posted information yesterday. We're going to have to move a little bit sooner now because, again, we would prefer to do it it's on district land, and we have a process in place that we think can make the transition a lot easier.
Do you know anything about a meeting this morning between the Bowser administration and the Trump administration on moving the encampments?
No, I was not privy to such a meeting if it occurred. We meet with the mayor every morning, the mayor's senior team, to discuss the elements of this process and what's next from the district's perspective. But I have not been involved in a meeting today with the mayor or Trump, and I'm not sure. I can't speak to whether or not such a meeting occurred.
In your opinion, is this helping the issue of homelessness?
My opinion is not particularly relevant. My goal is to, given the decisions that are made by persons who are in charge, to use the resources we have to make the absolute best of what is a very difficult circumstance. The people who live outside face a lot of stresses, a lot of stressors, and our job is to minimize those stresses as much as possible. At the same time, if there's a closure that needs to be done, to effectuate that closure in a manner that is respectful and respects their humanity.
Are there legitimate plans to move people out to Maryland or Virginia? Are you aware of anything?
The district has no such plans, but I can't speak for the administration.
And of the camps at this point that you know of may end up being cleared, I mean, how many people are we talking?
Again, if you look at the number of encampments that are, to give you a little history, before the pandemic struck, you didn't see many tenant encampments in the city. The pandemic struck, the city was essentially closed for over a year. A lot of encampments began to pop up. We started in 23. There were over 300 people living in tenant encampments in the city. There were well over 100 such encampments. We had a number of different programs, pilot programs, to move people into apartments, and we closed sites with the goal of connecting people to homeless services. From 2023 to today, we reduced the number of people who were living in encampments by probably 66, 67%. The pilot program we ran placed 100 people into apartments. My understanding for those, that placement rate remains at close to 100%. Those placements have sustained. So we work aggressively to address this problem. And as I have said many times, if you look on a per capita basis, there is not a jurisdiction in this country that spends more on homeless services than the District of Columbia. And we do it aggressively because it's important to the mayor, it's important to the council, and our goal is to make sure that one day, hopefully, no one is living on the streets.
And do you do any numbers as far as estimates, or is it the point in time that you rely on as far as what the current population may be?
We have a number of different data collection methods. The point in time count is only one such. We have workers on the ground who go and hand count all of the encampments and the people. We have outreach workers that tell us, how many people we have in any given encampment. And we use all these data sources to triangulate to a number that we feel comfortable with.
And layman's terms, what is that number of?
Right now?
Yes.
Right now, we think there are about 62 encampments, federal and district included. And anywhere from the numbers I saw this week were from anywhere from 97 to 106 people living in those encampments.
Rachel, do you want to talk a little bit about outreach?
And if we can get you saying spell your name, spell your title.
Sure.
Thank you.
Rachel Pierre. I am the acting director of the DC Department of Human Services.
Yes, so if you can tell us about what you're doing on your end with all of this.
Sure, and I just want to remind, as the Deputy Mayor stated, we have outreach year round. We have our internal DHS outreach, we have contracted outreach that works year round to make sure that they create relationships with our residents experiencing homelessness. We bring them in as needed. So the outreach that we've been doing, we've just re-emphasized a different message to make sure that they know what's going on, to make sure that there's a possibility that a lot of these closures may happen soon, and really to encourage people to come in. So what we've been doing is to make sure that we have enough shelter beds to meet the demand. So we have enough shelter beds, and we can expand on demand to make sure that anyone who wants a shelter bed can come in.
What about storage for some of their belongings?
So storage continues to be a challenge. Sometimes the Deputy Mayor's office has protocols to help our residents with storage. And shelters, they can only bring 2 bags at a time. And we are working with just innovative storage solutions to help folks who may not have an opportunity to take care of their storage before they come in. Because we believe that the safest place for people is to come in. The mayor's always been very focused on that. So we want to encourage as many people to come in shelter as possible, and just to reiterate that we have expanded capacity to meet the demand.
And for this site, the storage was expanded from 2 bags to 4 for this particular closure.
Having you said 4 bags.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you can clarify, I know not everyone who is leaving here today is choosing to go to a shelter. They do have that choice. If everyone were to choose, though, you're saying you do have enough beds. I can't check my phone to go over some notes, but I was told something about there's maybe like 30 to 40 openings right now.
So we expand on demand. So I check census daily to determine whether or not we need to open another site, and we have sites that are operationally ready, waiting for the queue. We don't want to have excess capacity either, because then it becomes wasteful. However, we know where we have the capacity. Just as a reminder, the district provides shelter to anybody who needs it during hypothermia season. So we know how to expand. So this is basically, we're almost on hypothermia operations. So we know how to expand, and we just expand on demand. So this is not new for us in terms of providing shelter to anybody who wants to come in.
And when is shelter check-in? As in, when will you know kind of where you're at for tonight?
So it's 24/7. So our shelters are open 24/7. So last night I could tell you that going into the evening, we had 30 beds left, but we could just with an ask from one of my leadership team, they could expand, to another 30 beds. We can expand as needed. So I think the key messaging, especially for our residents who are being asked to come in, offered to come in, is that we can meet the demand. So we want people to come in, and that's the key message. The capacity is almost a little bit irrelevant, because we know that we can meet the demand.
And it's not as if you have a max capacity? That
right now we are making beds available for anybody who wants a bed.
To give you an example, standard capacity operating prior to hypothermia season is about 1,100 beds. This past hypothermia season, we were housing as many as over 1,400 people.
Wayne, I want to ask you, advocates say they're concerned about the threats of jail time and fines if people don't move out. What is your response to what the Trump administration has put out there?
I can only speak from what we do in DC. I've been doing this since 2018. We've closed a number of encampments. We have never arrested a person who was in an encampment. We've never had a person adamantly and permanently refuse to leave an encampment, even if they were not going to shelter. So I can't speak to any experience with the need to arrest persons who are living homeless.
Are you not concerned about that?
As a human being, I'm always concerned if people who are living on the margin face circumstances that could traumatize them. So yes, I would not like to see any situation where we have people who are homeless being marched to jail, and I hope that does not happen.
Are you worried?
Let's do one more, please. Thank you.
Yeah, are you worried encampments might come back? I mean, even if you're taking some of their stuff and trying to put them in shelters, could they end up being one of those people who just sleeps on the street near one of those vents? I mean, how hard is it to kind of fully erase this?
You've described the dilemma perfectly. Wary is not the adjective I would use. I would say, we are aware of the fact that this problem will not be permanently solved until you find places for people to live that they are comfortable and they can afford. When people come back, then we will address that situation the same way we did before they left, and that is try to connect them to the range of homeless services that we have.
And we have folks with Miriam's Kitchen who are troubled that the current budget for this fiscal year doesn't have any extra funding for individuals who are looking for those vouchers to get into some of that housing.
Yeah, well, as you know, because of a number of factors, the city's budget for the next financial plan, 4-year financial plan, was reduced by $1 billion. When you have a budget that is reduced by $1 billion, and the major programs that pressure that budget are education, health and human services, and health insurance, you cannot address a budget deficit that size without reducing spending in those areas. And so, regrettably, when you have less money, you can't do as much, and that's what we were faced with. And the mayor and now the council have responsibly put together a budget that I hope will soon be headed to Congress for approval.
Thanks, everyone.
And I don't know, did we get your spelling? I can't remember. It's
Rachel, R-A-C-H, Patel. Last name Pierre, P-I-E-R.
Now,
Your title, I'm the acting director of the DC
so
Development.
we have to go over that now to change the notices from
If anyone doesn't have my information,
We don't
I
know
have
about
some
them
extra
today.
cards, and we can do follow
that
up.
the 29th is not the closing date. It'll be Monday. Yeah. And then, we took to try to go in the morning. We're waiting to hear from the federal government about
All right. Giving you a perspective about, what's the plan here. They gave them 1 day notice. Oh, they got crime scene tape set up. What's up with the crime scene tape? Continuing to monitor what's going on in the DC area. We'll see where this goes here. But one of many homeless camps soon to be dismantled. Apparently, they're going to be focused on other ones throughout the city, too. JLR investigates. I turned it down a little bit. We had to turn it up so we could actually hear them. I think this reporter here with Fox is going away and leaving the scene. So we take you back in front of Union Station. I don't see any other major activity going on other than, the National Guard perched at different locations throughout DC. But I'm sure in the next couple of days, we will see much more on this. And we will continue to stay with it on the channel. Jolly Sand, I saw you earlier. Thank you for the gifted membership. 1 gifted membership courtesy of Jolly's or Jolly Sand. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. ESCO28 had a comment. Homelessness is complex. The humane thing is to give them a hand, not give them a criminal record so they can't be employable in the future. We're going to stay with this for a bit and kind of monitor the situation and just have a conversation about the National Guard takeover in Washington, D.C. Not a lot of activity going here, but we're going to stick with this for a little bit, keep the conversation going, and everyone is more than welcome to share their opinions. There's many different opinions on the matter, and we respect everyone's opinion, value everyone's opinion, and keep them coming. Valerie, severe. Some of the homeless are wanted criminals who don't want help. Some of the homeless do have criminal records, and some are wanted. Some have warrants. Some have warrants. I think the help is there. I think what the problem is that they choose not to go to these homeless shelters because of the rules, regulations, policies, and procedures and restrictions. One of the things is no drug use. And people can't just let that go. Like they want to get high. And that's one of the requirements. Another one is curfews. Curfews at these homeless shelters, But you got to think, I mean, I wouldn't mind if I was struggling. I wouldn't mind sitting in a secure place from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Secure than sleeping outside under a crate on a park bench in a tent. But he also said about these camps, but he also said one of the problem situation is in DC along the streets, like in the alleys, along the stuff that pumps up the heat, the grates, benches, things like that. He said some of those homeless people struggling in that sense have severe mental illness. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not an overnight, just sweep through and get everything. You have very, very big challenges dealing with people with severe mental health illness. And let's be real, we've seen this in many cities. Fortunately, people talk to themselves and struggle, and they're arguing, just with imaginary people, and people struggle. What do you do about individuals that struggle like that? It is very. So going back to what ESCO 28 said a little bit earlier, it is a complex issue. I 100% agree. It's a complex issue dealing with it. Now, you see the National Guard here at Union Station. They're perched there. Notice how they're perched with the door looking, or, with their vehicle perched at the door there, Union Station. Looks some sort of fire truck, some sort of incident that happened there a little bit ago. People coming out, travel, tourists. A lot of people do not want to drive to Washington, D.C. because of parking, space, traffic, whatnot. So they choose, the rail line. Tourists coming in. And this is kind of like a show of force also. And then, Union Station, which they're at now, is a hotbed for panhandling and homeless people and petty crime and criminals going up trying to con and scam and manipulate people for money. I think they're trying to tackle that, trying to push that all out of there. They might want to make Union Station a safe place so people can go there and not be heckled or harassed or berated or asked. I mean, let's be real. I mean, when you driving to certain locations and you're at an intersection, do you want people coming up to your car asking you for money? Pounding on your windows? Do you want that? I mean, you do feel bad, of course, but do you really want that? Do you want to be subjected to that? Or would you just like a clean and open environment where you can walk safely and not be asked things? Will this work? Will this solution work? Will it create more problems? We don't know. We're at the second day of this. I mean, the reports are coming out that they made numerous arrests last night. They actually had a checkpoint on 14th Street. Some people are saying that was like a DUI checkpoint. Now are they doing now? They got checkpoints. How would it feel if you're just a regular citizen? We're going and we have to stop at a checkpoint and have to show our papers or show ID or have National Guard make us roll down our window and explain ourselves on a public street. How would you like that? Are you with that? Because it looks like it appears on 14th Street last night in Washington, D.C., every single car that passed through there got stopped. And you stop and they come up and look at your window. I guess they look at your eyes, shine a flashlight in your eyes, make sure you're not under the influence, whatever. But how do you feel about that? How do you feel about you being a law-abiding citizen? I hope most of you all are, following the law and everything like that. But how do you feel like if you're just have to stop at a checkpoint to prove yourself or even explain yourself or say, I don't know. I don't know what questions we should. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I'm considering going boots on the ground and then going up there and seeing what's really going on and going through these checkpoints. I don't mind going through a checkpoint to see what's going on. I'll record. They do that at the southern border. If you go 30 miles inland at most of the border ports of entry, they got a border patrol checkpoint. You literally have to stop. I'm not saying show your papers, but you got to stop and they ask you a question. Are you a U.S. citizen? Now, you can refuse the answer, but if you refuse the answer, they might pull you over and tie you up for a while. And I don't know how they prove that you're a citizen. You have the right to remain silent, but you have to pull over. I mean, you have to stop at the checkpoint. If you refuse to stop at a checkpoint, you can get in big trouble. It's a crime, apparently. But do you want to go around cities where you have to stop at checkpoints? Because that's what they were doing last night. They were doing it last night on 14th Street. The videos are out there. They literally had law enforcement like a DUI checkpoint. Some people say that's constitutional. Other people say it's not when it comes to DUI checkpoints. I remember me growing up in Pennsylvania. There was a lot of them. I had to go through them a lot at night on some of the highways. They literally just pop up out of nowhere, and they just come up there, and they put the cones up, law enforcement right there, and got to go through, and they look at you, and they see if you're under the influence or not. I mean, they can tell by your eyes, how you look, how you act. People they suspect. Is this like a stop and frisk? But or is this some sort? I mean, what my point is, whatever's happening here literally sets precedent for future in cities. And some people think that's needed. Some people will, they'll sacrifice this for safety. What I mean is they'll tolerate it for safety. If you don't like it, don't go to D.C., I guess. You don't like being pulled over. You don't like to be in question. Don't go to D.C. But at the same time, it's kind of like with flying. When the TSA came in board after 9/11, TSA puts up these metal detectors or, all the devices there. You got to go through them. They say you don't like it, don't fly. Don't go to the airport. Don't fly. People don't like it, but they grumble. And then some people say, hey, I'm with it. I don't want to be on a plane with somebody with a bomb. I want to be on a plane with somebody setting their shoes on fire. I don't want somebody pulling out a knife on a plane. I'll take it. I'll take going through a TSA. No problem. So there's a difference of opinions here, Like most events we go into in life, big events, concerts, sporting events, political rallies, got to go through metal detectors, right? Are we going to get into an era in this United States of America in the future that cities will literally have National Guard perched or federal law enforcement troops perched at strategic spots? And in order to get in and out of the city or progress or move forward, you got to answer a question, be stopped, looked at. Because it's very possible. See, I hope the videos start coming out, and I hope a journalist actually goes to one of these checkpoint corners. They might do it in the next couple of days. It wouldn't shock me if somebody puts their camera and plants it there right at this checkpoint. Because I'd like to see what they do. Do they come over to your car and ask you for your driver's license? or they say ask you a question, or they just look at you and then move you forward, like look at you? Or do they actually stop and look through your trunk or look through your back windows and stuff? Like eyes start going around your car and staring and looking in there? Sounds a little intrusive, but in the interest of public safety, you know, some people might be with it. See, there's a lot of federal employees that work and live in D.C., and they don't want to be subjected to the crime that they feel is keep happening. You know, carjackings are a lot in D.C. I didn't realize how many carjackings, a lot of carjackings. And then when you get down to the Naval Yard and everything like that, craziness with the juveniles meeting up on the dirt bikes, biker boys they call them, gangs and roving gangs of biker boys. I don't even know where they come from. How can you not get pulled over in the streets riding around on a motorbike? Because if you go down to the Navy Yard for the last year or so, every Friday and Saturday night, you got hundreds and hundreds of kids meeting up on motorbikes. Where do they even come from? How come they don't even get pulled over going to there? How is that even possible? Yeah, there's been a lot of carjacking. Let me see the numbers of carjackings. There's been a lot. I don't know the actual number. 500 carjackings in 2024, but they're saying down from 1,000 in 2023. 1,000 carjackings. What the heck's happening? Who gets carjacked? They looking for the high luxury cars or what? Whether you carjack and then just joyride and just ditch the car. Most of these high-end cars anyway got computers and tracking things like that. You get carjacked, they know exactly where you are. What are the rules of engagement? That's another question. What are the actual rules of engagement by National Guard? What can they do and what can they not do? A lot of conflicting there. Apparently, they don't have arrest powers, but they are there to assist. And I think under circumstances, they could. But what are their arrest powers? What are the rules of engagement? God forbid. I mean, I guess if it's a criminal, everyone would be good. But what about if the National Guard pulls out their weapons and shoots a criminal? What's the legal standing on that? No, there's so many questions that could be asked here about this situation. They declare it a national emergency. At the same time, officials in D.C. say the crime is going down. So if crime is going down, if they say it's going down, the numbers are going down each year, then what's the point of bringing this in now if the crimes are going down? They're armed. There's photographs. They're armed. Or at least the D.C., the federal police are armed. I don't know if the National Guard are necessarily armed, but the federal authorities in the area are armed. Now, I will say, wherever these checkpoints are going to happen, I do think they have like National Guard watch. And people might go and like protest them. Kind of like what they were doing with the ICE raids. 14th Street in Northwest Washington. What happened was, and that might be to stop the carjackings. That's why they have the checkpoints. Metropolitan Police last night and Homeland Security were conducting traffic stop checks along 14th Street last night. Is that legal? Interesting conversation, to say the least. Let me see what else is brewing here See if we get any additional scenes that we can share. In Washington, D.C. Union Station. AP just put out a bunch of photos from what transpired in the last 24 hours. Started yesterday. The deployment started actually on Tuesday. Yesterday, they took the streets. Trump seeks long-term federal control of the D.C. police. Oh, we're going on a move. Let's see what's going on here. We're going on a move. Where are they taking us? They're taking us on a move. Something might be going on. We'll see. What's going on here? All right, turn up the volume. We are live in Washington, D.C., Union Station. Usually when they move, something might be going on. That might be parking enforcement. For people in the chat, this is Union Station, right outside Union Station. Looks like it's in the front, Columbus Circle. National Guard takeover. This is literally in front of Columbus Circle. It's probably that little spot there, right by East Street. I mean, they're perched there. What's going on? We continue to monitor what's going on in Washington, D.C. National Guard takeover. Columbus Circle outside of Union Station. Thank you, Abby. Thank you. I appreciate that. Very grateful. Thank you. Thank you. The chat is lit. A lot of people have a lot to say about the situation. SUVs, black, unmarked SUVs. Look at his back. He has zip ties. Look at the zip ties on his back. I reported this earlier that the National Guard does have zip ties on them. So what would be the zip ties? If they don't have arrest powers, why would they have zip ties? I saw them with a bunch of zip ties in their hands and in their back. What's the zip ties for? Thank you, my crazy cat. Nice to see you, my crazy cat. I think this is much needed. I concur on that. I do think it's much needed. I mean, this has, again, we don't know the direction of where this goes. I'm saying things that have been happening in the last 6 months of this country, we're in uncharted territory. A lot of things that have been occurring in this country we have never seen before in our lifetime. Hey, Malin, nice to see you back. Where are all the homeless people? Do they come out at night? So, Malin, they do, day and night. They sometimes are in the shadows, sometimes in the day. They're sleeping, wandering around at night. Some sleep at night. Camps, a lot of camps. Walk around, usually around Pennsylvania Avenue, down Pennsylvania Avenue. Certain areas, walking around. Some are just in their camps. We watched, I don't know if you were in here earlier, but we saw a camp get dismantled off of Constitution Avenue by the river. Some people say the freaks come out at night. Now, they say about 5,000 to 6,000 homeless people in the area in D.C. I want to know more about the crime, too. The crime aspect, the criminals, the juveniles. Some of the people say there's no problem in D.C. yet. Why don't journalists start roaming around the streets at night and seeing what's really going on? Yeah, there's the homeless population in LA is much bigger than it is in DC. But DC is much smaller than LA. Now, the gentleman that we listened to speak about the homeless issue earlier, he was saying that DC handles the homeless issue quite well and provides resources to people. My throat has been getting a little raspy lately. Vocal cord. Oh, they got lunch. Meals. Look at that. They got lunch. Lunchtime. 1 o'clock. We call this National Guard Takeover. Well, I really think it's going to be rocking and rolling this weekend, though. Again, I keep saying that, but I think there's going to be a lot of action, at least camera-wise, optics-wise, everyone showing what they're doing. I don't think there's no secrecy in a sense. So I think this weekend's going to bring a lot to light, and we will definitely cover if any activity or action's going on. Look at that guy just staring, like looking at the National Guard there. He has zip ties. Zip ties. No weapons, though. I don't see the weapon. Do you see a weapon? Yeah, he got the weapon on him. On his side. Yeah, he's armed. Some people say it's not a takeover, it's a cleanup. National Guard cleanup. It looked like he was armed to me. And what is up? What's up with the emergency things that just keep going and going and going? Kind of calm down now. Nope, going back. I can hear it.
Hey, excuse me. I just want to ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Who are you with?
The news.
Which news? Which news?
The AP. Sorry, I gotta run.
Okay, thanks for coming out.
Somebody asking, what news are you with? Union Station.
We're going to the other Monday night game.
Hey, how's it going?
We are at a Columbus Circle. I'm scouring around to see if there's additional information out there. And we're also monitoring to see where they go next, if at all. Live at Union Station in Washington, D.C. For people in the chat, we are watching the National Guard takeover in real time. We don't know other locations that they're at, though. At the beginning of the feed, we looked at the U.S. Capitol. They were in front. They were by the U.S. Capitol. We have a location here. Seems like they're down by the mall area, Constitution Gardens area. Gonna get a cup of coffee. Stand by. Had to get some coffee here. Look, he has zip ties. That's what I'm saying. He had zip ties. Look at the zip ties. See the zip ties? See what I mean? So we're going to wait and see if there's any action going on. They're out there, though. They say about 400 are out in the streets at D.C. right now, and 400 more plan to come. We don't know what's going to happen after 30 days. We really don't know what's going to happen after 30 days. You know, this reminds me of me perched out in front of Eagle Pass when we were doing the Shelby Park thing. We don't know where this will head or where it's going. In the meantime, I'm looking up and seeing what's being put out there, any additional information. But we do have, you know, just monitoring what's going on in D.C. I think the whole nation's going to be watching D.C. this weekend. Friday night. Tomorrow's Friday night. Stay safe out there on a Friday night, even in the summer around this country. Stay safe out there, my friends, on Friday night. What about that crazy wackadoodle last night that shot at officers in Pennsylvania County? That guy was former military. You might be leaving. No? Humvee leaving? They're on the move? People in the chat for the first time, welcome to JLR Investigates as we cover what's going on in real time. They might be on the move. Maybe. I hear like a car, like something started here. Vehicle. We shall see. Richard Stevens, thank you for the gift and membership. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Erica says the zip ties are so that National Guard can detain people if needed. Zip ties. Adrienne Hall, thank you. Very grateful. Thank you. I was also scanning around the United States to see what else is going on, by the way. So we're watching. He might be leaving. Maybe. No. I think they're signed here, though. I don't think they're going anywhere. And if anything additional is going on in the world, share what's going on. If you got a story or anything you want to share with us on JLR Investigates, tips at JLR Investigates. Tips at JLR Investigates. I really want to go here. I personally want to go here. I'll monitor what happens on this weekend. Because if I was here, I'd be walking around, like live streaming, like walking around, like walking and showing you aerial, just a broader view perspective. I can't stand still. People are saying, yeah, go, 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 go. Boots on the ground. When's the last time we done boots on the ground? It's been a minute. I think the last time we did boots on the ground was a few months ago when we were looking for serial killers up in the Northeast. Get to the chopper. People are like, do it, go. Yeah, this weekend I think it's going to be interesting, but also you got to think of a safety aspect. We don't know what's going to happen here. There could be clashes. There could be protesters getting in the face of law enforcement. There could be organized civil disobedience. Washington, D.C. brings out the interesting characters. We don't know if juveniles here will go crazy. We just don't know. But what we do know is this is what's going on in real time. We're just kind of sit here and kind of wait and see what happens, if anything at all. Similar to what we were doing in Eagle Pass, Texas. Oh, he's on his phone. Zip ties. Look, they're going back into Union Station. Going back into Union Station. Yeah, some of this lawlessness in cities is getting out of control. Philadelphia is crazy with the Brinks Arms robberies right now, the armored trucks. I don't know if you heard about it. They just had the 5th Brinks armed robbery truck in the last few months. You know, people are breaking into ATM machines. The big bus. You ever go on one of those buses? I've been on one of them. They take you around all the landmarks. It's actually pretty cool. I don't know. It costs like $40 or something. Get on the bus, go around, goes to different stops, get out. I think they take you to like the Martin Luther King monument, take you all along the area. The person on the bus kind of like shows you what's this, that. It's actually pretty cool. There it goes. I think that's where it meets too. It meets at Union Station. But we've watched the homeless camp get dismantled. We'll see if there's more down the line. $87 degrees in Washington. We're waiting to see where they go next, if they go somewhere. And they're at other locations. We're just waiting to see what's going on. National Guard walking around, patrolling. Looks like they're going in groups of 2, by the way. I've noticed. They walk around in pairs. I noticed 2 pairs. They walk around in pairs. Oh, police. Police and National Guard. See some of the media outlets too. They're walking around with their cameras and for their B-roll footage, trying to get their reports. I wonder if they got any National Guard in front of the White House. Oh, zip ties. Zip ties. I don't think they're going anywhere. Somebody got a whistle. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Traffic control. OJ's doing well. Thank you for asking. OJ actually threw up a little bit earlier. Hairball. Thank you for asking. Wilson, too. Thank you for asking. I'm reading some of your comments. Keep your comments coming. I'm going to start reading some of the comments. I'm scouring over to see other locations in DC. But in the meantime, share what's up. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what's going on. The day after tomorrow, part 55. Rio's doing great. Rio is a growing part of our family. Rio's absolutely the best dog ever. Ever. Thanks for asking that, Abby. We need you in DC, Joy says. I'm telling you, I'm contemplating on going. You know, you don't really need a car in DC. You really just fly up there and then you can Uber around. A lot of hotels in DC. Please get the hair supplements for the hairballs. Cat supplements. Thank you, Starla. Yeah, she got the hairballs. OJ's healthy. Love animals. I love animals. Animals are the best thing. If you don't have a pet, get a pet. The only thing that's a little disturbing is boots on the ground. You got to leave OJ behind. You know, our family take care of OJ, but OJ misses me when I'm gone. Kind of cries, even though OJ's around other company. Cry a little bit. Look, zip tied. Now we're eyeing a good boots on the ground. Yesterday we were considering going to cover the Mickey Steins. The Letcher County, former Letcher County sheriff that shot Judge Kevin Mullins. He has a court hearing tomorrow in Whitesburg. Now I don't think it's going to be a long hearing, but he has a court hearing tomorrow. Like, he's trying to plead insanity. They're trying to get the indictment dismissed. He's trying to get out on bond tomorrow. So that will be interesting in Whitesburg. I don't think the court proceeding will be televised. We were thinking about going there, but that's like really like up in the mountains, like in far eastern Kentucky. We've been there. That is an insane case. The sheriff that shot the judge, that is an absolute insane case. Because I don't know if you saw the footage and stuff beforehand. He's in the office and then he's, looking at phones, and looks at the judge's phones, and the judge is sitting there just smoking a cigarette. Man, then he just gets up and pulls out the gun, and then the judge knows he's in trouble. He goes there and locks the door. That's a crazy case. And then Steins afterward paranoid that everyone's going to kill him. And, he's getting special treatment by the deputies there. So that is a big case that we're also covering. Now, I expect probably a resolution, but he could go to trial. That would be a trial that we would consider going to, or at the covering. Birds would have turned Decker to bones and day. Yeah, Travis Decker is like the last major person wanted, like, in reference to like true crime. Travis Decker. There was a possible sighting, but I think it was like a false alarm on the Snoqualmie Trail pass. The pass there, the trail pass. There's like a trail goes right. You ever go there? I mean, it's up there between Seattle and Spokane. They claim they spotted Travis Decker. Now, he vanished from the campground outside Leavenworth, but he could be alive out there. Travis Decker. How would you cover a manhunt for Decker, though, going out there? At this point, I don't think he's alive. But we also said we didn't think Michael Brown was alive, and he ended up being tucked down in a house, a little trailer. You can't rule anything out until someone is found. People say Travis Decker could be in Canada. Literally, you go right west of the campground. There is trails that take you all the way to Canada. He could be in Canada. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what these trails like. If you do get to Canada up like that, I mean, I'm sure Canadian officials know who crosses over. I think Travis Decker, to me, I think he did self-harm. Kind of like a Joseph Couch situation. Realizes, oh, I'm in deep doo-doo. I'm in trouble here. Oh my God, look what I did to my own kids. My whole world is coming to an end, and just he doesn't look like. I mean, he looks rough and rugged, but he doesn't look like one of those outdoorsmen like that could survive out there in the element. He doesn't look like military, like Eric Rudolph type. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Travis Decker's alive, but again, you got to find the body, bring closure to it. And they're still, manhunt for him. I don't think they're actually like really out there looking. They're just waiting for maybe like a hiker, a hunter, or someone out there to find the body. But what are you going to find? Close. El Boogie, nice to see you. Let's go. I'm in DC area all the time. I can't wait to see the action in person. Thank you, El Boogie, for the comment. I used to go to DC a lot too. A lot. From Philadelphia, take the train down there. It was real. You get the train and back in DC for like $40. And it takes you here to Union Station. Well, we'll monitor like from afar here over the weekend at the very least. There might not be activity at all. This might be just that wave of, hey, what's going on with National Guard? And then you really don't notice them. But how can you not notice them? Welcome aboard, JLR Investigates. For people in the chat, we're kind of just monitoring the situation here. I'm also scouring around the net, see what's going on as we cover news and craziness 24/7, 365. No rest. No rest. Thank God there's no mass shootings going on right now that I see. Sometimes I, like once an hour, I kind of check the Broadcastify scanners too. For some reason, I don't even understand why. But if you go to the Broadcastify, the number one top feed regularly all the time is the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police. I don't know why people like to watch and listen to their scanner. But it always has hundreds and hundreds of people listening in. Must do a lot of things on there. But I appreciate people stopping by, coming in and out of the chat. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Just to at least see what's going on. Zip ties. Zip ties. See? Zip ties. So we got this location. We also have another location. We're going to pop it up here shortly. Kind of gives you perspective here. Come on in, folks. JLR investigates. We are continuing to monitoring the National Guard presence in Washington, D.C. area. What's going to happen here throughout the weekend? What do you think? We'll take you back to the other scene here of what's going on. I'm also monitoring to see if other activity. We're back live. That was kind of giving you a glimpse of the presence that is going on with the National Guard in the city throughout different locations. Kind of give a glimpse of the role of what they're doing in the daytime. We don't know what they're doing at night. So here's what you're seeing here. Basically is they're at locations. I don't know if they're roaming around per se, but they're definitely perched at different locations.
ICA report.
Oh, they took it away. They took it away. They took it to Trump.
What's your reaction to the latest declassification? And in your view, sir, what does real accountability look like for the players?
It's incredible what we're finding.
They took it to
Absolute
Trump.
Proof of guilt. And we'll see what happens. But Clapper and Comey and that whole group of criminals.
All right. So with that being said, I think we're going to sign off for a bit until there's more activity or more like something else breaks off. If anything at all, something else might not break off. But it gives you a glimpse and a perspective on what's going on in Washington, D.C. With this situation. And we'll continue to monitor the situation. And if anything else breaks, you'll hear it here on JLR Investigates. Thank you for spending the time with us through, the morning into the afternoon. We got our eyes on DC, and stay vigilant out there, my friends, because I think it could be rocking and rolling this week. Thank you for everyone that contributed. And I appreciate every single one of you out there. And make sure you sub up to the channel, hit the notification button. JLR and Magnolia Investigates, covering what's going on in real time around the country. And if we see some activity, we'll be back. Or if anything else happens around this country, you can count on us to give you the latest. You guys have a very blessed day. Until next time, JLR Investigates. Be safe out there.